Okay, so this talk is going to be like a talk show, question and answer. And we're going to start first with Leslie. Okay, so Leslie, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so my first question to you. Oh, by the way, Leslie, his status is?
Single.
So we expect 10 dates from you ladies from Leslie by the end of tonight. So listen hard, watch him well, get to know him. This is the expectation. Don't leave him hanging by the end of the night.
I am recording The Bachelor tonight because I'm here, so I'm taking notes.
Okay, so first question, Leslie. How do you deal with the ache of singlehood?
I think to kind of get to answering that question, I'll give you guys a little bit of my own story. When I started choosing to date, I remember actually, it was about 2001, I was 13 years old, and I was watching Much Music, and the Destiny's Child Survivor video came on, and I was like, man, I like girls. All of a sudden, I don't know what happened, but I stopped giving myself the cootie shot that moment, so thank you, Beyonce. After that, I was interested in girls, and by the time I was 16, I was in an all-guys school, so Neil McNeil, there you go. So in an all-guys school, it's kind of a status thing to go out with girls and everything, so I started dating, and right around this time, it was also a tough time in my family's life as well, because unfortunately, I think a lot of us here have experienced it. My parents started to split up at this time. And it was really tough for me, especially in those formative years as a young man. I didn't really have a father to look to. I didn't have, my mother was going through her own things. So I didn't really have a foundation of a marriage that I could look up to and be like, this is what I want to grow into. So that being said, my parents' marriage, I thought was going to last forever. I thought it was, to borrow that often used term, it was a rock. And so I didn't really have that to lean on anymore, and I thought that in my own relationships in high school that everything would have an expiry date on it. So the way it would work for me is I would be like, oh, okay, look at my watch, it's about time to start going out with someone. I would date someone, and then the minute anything felt uncomfortable, I would pull the plug and be like, that's it, I can't do this anymore. I think that a lot of this was to do with my tainted view of marriage at the time. And it wasn't until I was 21 and at a friend's wedding that I met a girl there. And this was the first Catholic girl that I'd ever dated in my life. Like, trying to be Catholic, really giving it her all. And so we started to go out, and we went out for 2 years. And unfortunately, for a bunch of different reasons, that didn't wind up working out. But within the context of that relationship, she kind of taught me what it means to enter into a relationship where you work through hardship and you work through suffering. And that was something that I hadn't seen in my life. After that ended, I am where I am now. And for the last 2 years, it's crazy to think it's been 2 years, because I used to be like dating guy. For the last 2 years, I haven't gone out with anyone, and it's not because it's been intentional necessarily, but it's just because I'm, trying to find out what does God actually want for me in this time of being single. So there definitely is an ache. I remember I was in a movie theater at Varsity Cinema last year, and I have this thing where I want to watch like all the Oscar Best Picture nominees. So last year I was there and I was watching Brooklyn. And I like to go to the movies by myself, probably why I'm still single. And I was sitting there in the dark of the theater, and it was like the time of day when like a bunch of retirees were there, like old couples, and there were a couple students playing hooky or whatever. I don't know why they'd come to watch Brooklyn, but whatever. And there was this like really endearing moment where this guy's chasing this girl, and he says something hilarious, and everybody had someone there that they were laughing with, and and embracing and remembering something in their own life. And I kind of looked to my right, I looked to my left, it was geriatrics all around me, and I'm just like, haha, right, Tony, huh? So there are those moments, but then there are moments of a profound ache, and I think that's where our faith comes into it, because being single is one thing, but being single and having your faith to lean back on is really important. And we have perhaps the greatest example of all, of any kind of love, is in the cross. And we see a lot of ache there, we see a lot of pain, and we see longing. And I think instead of looking at ache as something to run away from and numb, which is the tendency, we can numb it with a bunch of different things, especially nowadays. You know, you can numb it with porn, drinking, binging on movies, sports, which is like a big thing for me. And you can try and push it away, but I think when you actually decide to enter into that ache, that's when you find strength in our faith. That's where you find strength in Christ who aches with us. And if you take it as part of the journey, you will wind up in your vocation. This is a part of creating that desire in you for your vocation. And it's really difficult, especially in Catholic communities. We go to Mass, we see couples together, we see grandparents, we see the priest up on the altar and he's saying Mass, he's living his vocation. We see nuns at adoration, you know, they're living their vocation. It can be an ache that's difficult, but as long as you turn it into part of your journey and finding your vocation, I think that's really the key, and that's one thing that our faith gives us.
So Leslie, next question. Do you ever feel like you are never going to meet anyone or get married?
Yes. Next question.
Keep going, keep going.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's something that that's something that's difficult. That's something that you struggle with. And I think the worst part is you can kind of look back on some of your old relationships, and that can be messy because you can start to be like, oh, did I mess something up? Should I call them? Like, it's late at night, you know, like the whole "you up" text. Yeah, I think that's really difficult. I also think one thing that is hardly addressed is I think there's a temptation to remain single, and you know, I know what you're thinking. It's like, who would ever choose to be single? This is crazy. But I think there is a temptation to remain single because, and I've seen it in my friends, and I've felt it myself. You're not beholden to anyone. You don't have to be somewhere. You don't have to suffer with someone, go through hardship with someone, work through things. You can literally, you know, do whatever you want, and you can, if your video games is your thing, you can play video games, you can go out, you can do things, you can see whoever you want to see, and it's all by your own time. And it's, especially as a young man, it's tempting to do that because, you know, and it's difficult because it can actually harden your heart as well. And you can become very nitpicky about the women that you date and find like the littlest things that are not attractive to you. And you can actually, maybe I'm just speaking for myself, I don't know, but you know, that's a temptation, and I think people often overlook that. So to really be open and once again, always look back to the cross, right? That love is never going to be easy, but there's going to be sacrifice that's required in it. But yeah, of course I think that I won't get married sometimes, but it's not the majority of the time, I'll tell you that.
That was perfect because it follows up with the next question, which is, how do you have realistic expectations? How do you balance between your dating checklist and God's will?
So, yeah, I think I think one thing, for whatever reason, and once again, I could be wrong. I might be in the minority with this opinion, but I think Catholics love to make lists, right? Like, you know, a lot of people go into the confessional or they go for spiritual direction, and it's like, Father, tell me how to get to heaven. I just, you know, I'll do whatever it takes, and as long as I check this enough, oh, it's great, I'll be in heaven. That's not how it works. Okay, you need to change your heart. You really need to make concerted efforts in your life to get there. I think, you know, especially when it comes to dating, you know, some people, I remember talking to some of my friends, both men and women, they're like, I want to be married by 24, I want to have kids by 26, I want to do this, this, and this. It's like, that's not how God works, and actually God will take that opportunity to humble you and actually ask you to enter into something that makes you a holy person. And I really want to drive that home, is that no matter where you are in your life, no matter what your vocation is, because you're going to hear different opinions here, and there are even opinions beyond ours, God just wants to make you a saint. That's like the main thing that you have to remember. God loves you and he wants to make you a saint. So when it comes to something like God's will, I think, you know, we have our own free will, and God's will is the best thing for us. God's will is to make us a saint. So if our job is to take our free will and to match it up with God's will, because he will not impose anything on you, you have to act. And going back to the checklists, it is kind of weird too, because they're like, I just want to say, and I'll speak for the guys on this point, maybe women, you can talk amongst yourselves about this, but guys, don't be a creep. Like there are so many Catholic guys who will go with girls and like right away, like the first question is like, how many kids do you want to have? What are your thoughts on natural family planning? Have you read Theology of the Body in its entirety? It's ridiculous. Don't do that. I know. Yeah, so don't do that, because ultimately, like, love is going to be a choice. Love, you will feel love, but you're not always going to feel love. Love is going to be a choice. You're going to have to say, you know what? There are other people out there, and I think this is a tendency for our culture, because we are the first generation to have things like Tinder and Facebook, and we can see all these different kinds of people that are out there, and we're like, well, that person they have something that the person I'm with doesn't have. Like, what about that? It doesn't matter. There's always going to be somebody who has something that the person you're with doesn't have, and that's when love becomes a choice, because you choose to make that man, you choose to make that woman, you choose to help them in their journey to become a saint, and you want the best for them. You make them the best woman she can be. You make him the best man. And so don't worry about checklists, scrap it. You need to be attracted to each other, obviously, that's like a main thing, but yeah, don't worry about the checklist. I know why it's tempting, but you're only going to wind up disappointed.
Okay, who's crushing on Leslie? He even dressed up for us today. Okay, let's give it up for Leslie. Thank you, Leslie. Okay, Leanna? Everyone give it up for Leanna. Before I even start asking you your questions, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit? What's your status?
I'm dating someone right now. And
complicated?
Yeah.
It's complicated.
He's also not Catholic, and that's what I'm here to talk to you a little bit about tonight. So that's all the intro I can do. Has anyone ever been to St. Basil's? St. Basil's Catholic Parish downtown? Okay, I used to work there up until like yesterday, so may have seen you there.
Okay, so first question for Leanna. Is it okay to date someone who is not Catholic?
Okay, has anyone been burning with that question? Only like, okay, so a fair, yes, okay. I for sure had that question for the longest time, and I'd say that it's more than a choice, but it is a calling. So I want to dispel some fears tonight, because I don't think a lot of us have been given the permission to explore this option for dating. I always assumed that I had to date a Catholic in order to live a fulfilled relationship and a fulfilled marriage. I'm not married, but I can for sure say that dating someone who is not Catholic has been a holy road for me. I don't think it's for everyone, but I do think that discernment is necessary for this. What can I say? I mean, I'll give you a little bit of our history. I went to the University of Windsor, and you meet a lot of unique people there because it's right on the border, and there's a lot of international students. So I met someone there who we weren't even interested in each other at the time. There was absolutely no connection. He was also dating someone else at the time. I just had there were no prospects there, you could say. I was also very distracted at the time. We were both distracted with school. As Providence would have it, I think it was, a couple of years after we graduated, we were both in Toronto for, I think, internships at the time. And we reconnected, and it was I think it was Facebook actually that brought us together, an introvert and an extrovert, meeting only through social media. And we connected, and again, nothing, but it was a strong friendship, which I would say is an asset but not a requirement for dating, that brought us close together. And then there was a period where almost comically he pursued me, and that's a story for another day, but I think it is possible for boldness to come in many forms. I don't necessarily think that you have to be a Catholic to live with boldness, and I think that that calling is within each of us. So I think that is a matter of transcendence, and I think that God speaks to each of us, and so whether or not we have the language, whether or not that person of faith or not has the way to describe what they're feeling or what God has given them in their spirit, is another story. And I think Catholicism is great because it gives us a language, a shared language that we can say, I call that grace, whereas my significant other will say, Leanna, when you say grace, I mean, what does that mean? And I'm like, am I a bad Catholic for not having a textbook answer? But truthfully, he has challenged me in amazing ways. He's actually here tonight. I'm not going to point him out. I'll let him.
What's his name?
Do I? I don't think he wants me to review.
Facebook friend, Facebook man.
Yeah, right. You can stalk him later. That's fine. I'll let him be the Clark Kent among everyone here. Amen. Leslie has a crush on my boyfriend. No, I mean, attraction is important. I agree. So, all that to say, is it okay to date a non-Catholic? Yes, I think it is a discernment for each person. So I think there's a calling that certainly I have felt, whether or not I marry this person. I mean, we're at that stage now where we're hoping that marriage is a possibility for us. And of course, this takes serious intention and discernment for both of us. And yeah, I think it's been a different sort of learning, but nonetheless a holy one.
Perfect. So, considering your relationship, what is particularly Catholic about your relationship?
So as Sarah said, it's not necessarily a necessity that you both be Catholic in order to practice Catholic values in dating. My boyfriend and I have been dating just over 2 years, and in those 2 years, you go through some things. Of course, there's the beginning where you feel total attraction and you feel like anything is possible with this person, and with God, anything absolutely is possible. But there are times where human nature comes through and you feel struggle. And as Leslie hinted on that, it is absolutely a barrier for us as humans to get through those things and wonder, do you still love this person? Do you still, in 10 years, will think that they're the most amazing person, you want to spend your life with them? What is particularly Catholic about this particular relationship, I would say a couple things. One is the profound ability to forgive that I have actually never seen in another person, much less a Catholic. So his ability to forgive me and my wrongdoings and my difficulties has taught me to be a better person, a better woman, a better Catholic. The amount that he will be generous to me, his service-centered heart has really spoken to me, and I think as Catholic women, we do search for someone who is at the service of others. I think that is one of the transcendent values. But he absolutely has given that to me, and he has awarded it to my family and my friends, and their responses to him have been quite generous in return, and there's just a beautiful cycle of love and respect. And I would say morality we share. There's a deep sense of value there that I call God, he will sometimes label as a mystery or an unknown, or just, again, with the language we describe it differently, but I will always, there's no way that we cannot talk about God in our relationship. He knows that I'm a Catholic, and if he really truly is interested in me and at my core, he will get to know me. And for me, if he is open to me, that he is also open to God in many ways. So it is an open dialogue that we share in our relationship. And for me, that was one of the deal breakers, right? Like, are you able to discuss openly your faith with other people, with each other? Are you able to have a dialogue with yourself and say, this is something that's important to me and I want to share it with you? Are you open to this part of me? If the answer is yeah. And that was my discernment. There's a difference between being non-religious and being anti-Catholic or being anti-religious. So for me, that was a huge distinguishment. If someone is just doesn't know what Mass is or doesn't know what Catholic faith can bring, it's different from being averse to going to Mass, being averse to reading a spiritual text, being averse to Scripture, quite different. And so I'm lucky enough to have a partner who is open to those things, who is willing to learn with me, And that for me was more important, because just because the person is Catholic doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work. And just because they're non-Catholic doesn't mean that they're not going to share your values. So.
Perfect. And last question. Is it important for you that your significant other or husband go to church?
For me, speaking from personal experience, because faith is a way that I learn and a way that I grow and transform and relate to others, yes, it is important for me. It's not necessary that my partner come with me every single week, but if he wants to know this, it's sort of like taking a class together, you know, like you're on the same page, you've heard the same things, you're experiencing the same things together. It's like taking, you know, a cooking class or a writing class, or, you know, going on a morning run together. Like, you experience the same things, you're going to remain more connected, right? So for me, it was something that I asked of him and said, what do you think about this? And he was open to it, and he actually is an active member with me. He even serves with me, which is an added bonus. And if you can find someone like that, I mean, whether Catholic or not, I think you have a pretty good match there. But again, it's all about what you feel you are called to do. And sometimes God's will is beyond our expectations, and for me, it certainly surpassed them. So I didn't know that I could date someone who's not Catholic and still have a fulfilling relationship.
Perfect. Let's give it for Leanna. Welcome to Llorene Renard. Okay, Llorene Renard. Ashley, what's your status?
I don't know. Married. Sorry, married.
Let's see the rings.
That was supposed to be a joke, married.
A joke that he's gonna pay for.
Oops.
Okay, first question. Being Catholic is more than just attending church on Sunday, or from refraining from sex outside of marriage. How do you live your Catholicism within your dating life? Or how did you live your Catholicism within your dating life? And how do you share and communicate your Catholic values with the person you are dating?
Okay, so similar to Leslie, I'll try and be quick on my past, is that my family, everyone seemed to be religious on the female side. And then all the males in my family, yeah, that was not happening. So going to church, it was always with my mom, my sister, and all of that. So I just thought dating Catholics was not important, dating at all was not interested in at all. But as I grew in university and I started to really share my faith, I was thinking, oh, it's actually starting to be important in my life. And that's when I still was against dating, not gonna happen. And even though I did date off and on, I was like, whatever, it's just whatever. But then it really started, I'm like, oh, maybe I am being called to marriage or just dating at the time. So for me, when I started to realize in my faith, prayer was one of the most important things. Giving and sharing with the less fortunate was another important thing. And even going to adoration, and I remember I used to date someone that wasn't into the Catholic faith, and come Thursday night at York University, they will have this adoration that I used to love, and I wanted to share that, I wanted to talk about that, and they were like, yeah, not happening on a Thursday night. So it was that lack of, yeah, it's pub night at York University, so it's that kind of lack of being able to share what I wanted to do in my faith was really, I started to leaning, hoping that I could find someone that I could really share my prayer life with. And starting to date Llorene, right off the bat, we started to communicate about our faith, communicate how important our faith is. So I was able to share, hey, prayer life is important to me. Like, if we're driving somewhere, if we're going somewhere, just saying a quick Hail Mary, that's important to me. So, and to find out she was like, yeah, that's no problem. I'm like, wait, what? I was not expecting that. And then continuously sharing my faith with her, she was saying adoration's okay. Going to feed the less fortunate, going to mass on not only Sundays, but other days as well. Those were important to both of us. So gradually communicating our faith to each other made us realize, okay, it is important to each other, and it really helps us to grow in faith with each other.
So I actually wanted to share something is that in looking back at our Renard and I's story, it kind of seems like that ideal Catholic dating story. We met somewhat in a church setting, dated, we like to pray together, and we got married, and now we have a son. But it definitely came without its struggles, right? It definitely came with its struggles. How many of us, here actually get paralyzed in our decision making because of our emotional baggage or past negative past experiences, or just our fears? And this was definitely a struggle for me as well. Our relationship would actually not have, I really hesitated in even just starting our relationship, and it was because of a past relationship that I had, which was also born out of friendship, but it ended badly. And with it also, I, not only, we failed in our relationship, but also I lost a really good friend. So I was really hesitant actually when Renard asked me out at first in starting a relationship with him, because of the fact that I didn't want it to falter the same way. And so I actually I went through a bit of a discernment period, and what this was really just having prayer help me, guide me in my decision. And I'm glad I did it because I think it helped me open up my heart and my eyes to see that, this was a relationship that was worth pursuing. So I think just from, our relationship might not, it doesn't have to be that unique Catholic dating story. How many of us might be sitting here next to a good friend who's already, who shares those values with you, but we might be hesitant and we might be fearful because of our past negative experiences. So often I think we let good people pass us by because of the fact that we're just letting, our fears kind of hinder us from this decision.
Nice. Now everyone look to your left and look to your right and make everyone feel very awkward.
Why else do people come here?
That was a perfect point. Okay, let's get back on track. Okay, next question. Llorene and Renard, what does dating mean within a Catholic marriage? But before you answer that question, sorry, are there any married couples here in the audience? One. Okay, keep going. Two. So what does dating mean within a Catholic marriage?
Well, for us, I can say one of the things is to still pursue your wife. You showed interest in her while dating. It's to continue that interest, continue to show that she is the number one in your life. That's the reason why you have gotten married. It's not for, I could just have kids now and all that. No, You married her for a reason. You married your spouse for a reason. What is that reason? Continue that reason after dating, after marriage. It's not just, oh, got married, the life is good, perfect, we just fly on by. That's not happening at all. So every day you gotta challenge yourself to be like, hey, you know what? It's good, it's amazing. How to make it even better than where it is at now. Key thing is having date nights. When you have a kid, that's extra hard to try and do because you put all your effort, all your energy into going to work, then going towards your kid that sometimes you take for granted. Hey, my wife is there, she's amazing with the kid, you love her doing what she's doing, but you forget to tell her that. You forget, she is the reason why you guys are married, and then you start realizing, okay, let's have a date night. Let's do something that's special for us again. And to tell you, I fail a lot in that, in doing that because I'm so focused on our kids. So to me, it's to make that effort again to show my wife, like, hey, you're number one to me. So let's go back to that dating thing. And we did try it. We did do a dating.
Yeah. So this is a funny story. So we have an 11-month-old. So over the course of the year, we actually have not done very well with date nights. We were excellent at it when we were first married, no kid. We would have date night like every week. But with a newborn, obviously it's tough to get out. So during the holidays, we actually checked out the VIP theaters. And went and saw Rogue One. So we made it a point to, left our baby. Sorry, left our baby with my mom, and we went out for date night, which was actually 3 p.m. In the middle of the afternoon on a Thursday. And we checked out the VIP cinemas. You know what? The couches there are so great. Rogue One. Oh, such comfortable couches, we actually fell asleep 15 minutes. I think.
Don't ask me what I think of that movie. I cannot remember it.
But I think the whole point is that, you know what, for us, it's just generally trying to, continuing to find those times just to spend with each other. I think it's, now it's harder to come by that it's just the two of us to spend with each other, and being able to actually talk with each other, and as well finding new interests, common interests. I was joking around that Renard, I was like, oh, see, I take interest in football, right? So he in turn watches Top Chef with me. So.
And one of our other passions that we've always talked about is travel. So for me, that it really helps us to continue to grow in our relationship because travel is something we're very big on, and we want to teach our son that. So right off the bat, we talk about travel nonstop. Once we go to one place, we're like, we don't shut up about going to another place. So I think something like that, okay, what are you passionate about? How to make that even better than it is now, so yes.
Perfect. And very briefly, just for time, the last question, how did you know this was the person you wanted to marry?
Just look at it.
We can all go home now.
Okay. I will add to that though. When we were in university actually, so I had attended a retreat on theology of the body actually, and one of the speakers there, she was one of the girls actually. This stuck in my mind. She was saying that when she was thinking about who she potentially, or if this was the person that she wanted to marry, or is this the one that she was gonna marry? She asked herself 3 questions. One was, is this person gonna help me get to heaven? The second one was, is this person gonna help our kids get to heaven? And the third question was, should anything happen to me, will this person help our kids get to heaven? I think, at all fronts, Renard, definitely showed he was a yes to all of those, and obviously there was attraction. Something to think about.
Lovely. Okay, perfect. Give it up for Llorene Renard. Okay, so I'm going to single out 2 of you, Leanna and Renard, because of your experience with online dating. But if you can answer the question, what do you think about Catholic online dating?
So I confess that I didn't just do Catholic online dating. I was in the online dating world for a bit before I actually started to date my now boyfriend, which actually was part of the reason we started dating. He's like, no, I don't think these people are treating you very well. And I was like, whatever. And then he's like, no, go out with me. So I honestly think it's not that much, it's not that much different from what you people did today. You walked into a room, you surveyed, am I right? Okay. You saw who you thought was attractive, and then that was it, right? Sometimes you do something about it, and sometimes you don't, and that's what online dating allows you to do, but more. So it has a stigma, okay, I'll acknowledge it. I don't think it should be the sole means that we meet people, because I think it can be a cop-out, but I think it's an aid to us sometimes when used properly and respectfully and in the right ways. So if you're on it all the time, so like any obsession is bad, right? If you're on the online dating site, if you're swiping left all day long, maybe don't. But if it's dating with intentionality and dating with genuine interest in other people, I met some interesting folks that, it's about connect. Like for me, it was about more so connection rather than finding like a soulmate necessarily. But it depends how you use it, and I think it's not that much different. It's just a new way that we can meet people. So don't let it get in your way if you feel like that's what you're being called to do at this very moment in dating.
I would add on to that, Catholic online dating, it's just really another avenue in the dating world. If you don't like this way, or if you just want to try another route, I think Catholic online dating can be actually enjoyable. When I did it, I did a lot of copy and paste for my profile, so I did show a lot of interest, but it was fun at the same time.
And you dated a marketer.
Accountant, yeah. The thing is that I think a lot of people, not a lot, but when I started talking to people, they expected Catholic online dating or Christian Mingle or all these Catholic Christian websites that they're going to meet this perfect Christian person. They're going to meet this Catholic person. Not happening. Just like, you could, sorry, yes. But you gotta go there with an open mind that just like here, just like any other dating format, you're gonna meet some people that aren't even Christian, some people that don't even fit the ideal profile you're looking at. So if you don't go in with an open mind, you might shut that person out. So the idea of Catholic online dating is just this idea that this person's gonna meet a perfect Catholic idea. You gotta let that relax a little bit and go in there with an open mind, just like if you go to any other dating format to meet other people.
Perfect. Okay, Renard, I'm gonna pick on you because that's what I usually do in real life anyways.
Thank you.
So I have another question, and I think Llorene and Leslie are gonna chip in as well. But what are some of the pressures you feel in pursuing a Catholic girl? And also, what does it take to get a girl to say yes to a date?
How much time do we have left?
Okay, you could take this one. Thank God I'm married now because it's not gonna look pretty. The pressures I felt, and I don't know if it's the same for everyone, this is definitely doesn't define everybody, but for me, I felt like I didn't fit what a Catholic guy was. I felt like, hey, I have a history that ain't pretty, and I almost felt like I didn't measure up to what it meant to be a Catholic guy. And this fictional character, I don't know why I was trying to measure up to whatever this fictional character was, but I kept feeling that pressure. I remember at York University, they had this book called Captivating, and all the ladies loved this book. They were all reading it.
I read that book.
I know, but I just felt like I wasn't, when I heard about that book, I felt like I didn't measure up to what that book was talking about. And I know, why would I think that? I don't even think, I can't remember the whole gist of it, but it's that mentality that I felt pressured on. And yeah, so that's one of the main Catholic things that I didn't feel, as Leslie said, a list. I felt like some dates there was a list. Actually, he's saying, guys, don't talk about theology of body. I went on a date. The first date was theology of the body, Christopher West. And I'm like, I didn't know who he was at that point. At that time, and I'm like, what are you talking about, man? Theology of the body, I'm just asking you for a drink right now. So that was kind of the thing. And then another person talked about marriage, like, I'm like, wait a second, hold up. This is the first date. So it was that sort of thing, is like, I'm okay, if I don't feel like marrying right now, does that mean we're not even going to date? If I don't know if marriage is completely my calling, does that mean we're not going to date? And that's what I felt the pressure was on for me. Oh yeah, what was my second? Oh, you go ahead.
Yeah, so I think, how do you date a Catholic girl? It's like how you date any girl. You be confident, right? You be confident in yourself. I say in a very weak voice. Yeah, just be confident. Yeah, be confident and just, it sounds so corny, but it's true. Like, pray together and make time to do it. It's I swear, it works, Anytime that you don't, you kind of fall off a little bit. And then, so be confident. And then I think one thing that I just wanted to bring up about this is that people think that, dating, when two Catholics are dating, it's easy and that you don't have any of these, like, usual temptations and stuff like that. You will, because you're human beings, all right? It's like Sarah said at the beginning, there is really no Catholic dating. We are people who are dating who are Catholic, and we have Catholic values. So, but it doesn't mean that things get any easier. You can talk to each other on a level that both of you understand, but you're still gonna feel desires. At the risk of sounding like a grade 8 sex ed class, you are gonna feel desires, and at least you know how to address it together in the context of our faith.
Okay, and so lastly, we're going to wrap up by each of you sharing, why is a Catholic relationship, or one that honors Catholic values, worthwhile? So again, all of you are going to have about 2 minutes. Why is a Catholic relationship, or one that honors Catholic values, worthwhile?
Okay, I'll start off. Just quickly, it's, again, for me, I want to bring up my child to see a male figure in the Catholic Church. I want to see him see faith important, and that, hey, if something is stressful, something's taking really effect on you, it's okay to say, I'm going to pray. You're a man, I know, but it's okay to say, I'll pray about it. It's okay to go to adoration. It's okay to do all of the Catholic stuff because it is fun, even as a male. So that's why I felt it's important to grow up and to try my best to go to have a family household that's Catholic. So if I have a son, if I have a daughter, they can see a male figure and that it wouldn't be an issue.
I think Catholic faith specifically, gives us very practical and theological ways to love in the best way possible. Jesus teaches us how to love, and we lead by example. So I would even say in my relationship, I asked in the beginning of my discernment, Lord, how do I do you justice? How do I make you known in this relationship? How am I okay with myself dating someone who does not know you that well? And my response in prayer was, love him where he's at, and he will grow, and so will you. And lead by example. My work is in me. I am being taught how to love. Your work is always in you, not the other person. And my faith has taught that to me through my relationship.
I'm very big on respecting others. So I think when you date with Catholic values, I think that just sort of innately comes. So, you know, in just talking about how Renard and I were friends before we were in a relationship, I think knowing that, you know what, at the end of this, whatever, or when we were dating, that whatever happened in our relationship, we had mutual respect. And so whatever happened within that relationship, I know that, you know, we could essentially still have that dignity and look at each other with respect.
And on my end of things, I think I guess I'll refer to it in the single context. I think it's important to be Catholic and to be single and Catholic because, as I said before, we have Christ. It really is incredible. We have a God who's went through every single thing that we've gone through. He felt everything that we went through, all the hardships, all the ache, pains, fears. He felt that as God incarnate. So we can always lean on that and know that you're not alone in what you're feeling, that everything he's been through, he's there for you and he's there on the cross with you. And then, once again, just to turn your ache into your vocation. I think that's a huge benefit to being single and Catholic, is that you know that this season that I'm in, I'm 27 and single, and I did not plan on it, but this is where I am. And I think I've actually come to love this time, not because I'm single, but because it's helping me get to the point where I will be able to give my heart someday to someone, and she will be able to give her heart to me, and I'll serve her. So I think that's the benefit of having your faith in this relationship.
Let's give it up for our panel.